to see what is going down.
All right, business is starting as usual on the Fortress of Lions here, as Akane is going to get stuffed out from getting that first weapon, manages to get the turnaround and life. He doesn't pick this weapon up, finally does, has those gauntlets in hand, not without Delta hitting him at least 4 times beforehand. But now let's see what these gauntlets can cook.
That's like 4-3 hits, make it 5, and that's Akane now in orange. But I mean, props to Akane, he's been able to even out this damage. But Delta, I mean, come on, dude! I mean, come on!
Wow.
There's a reason I'm excited about Delta, man. I don't need to talk. I don't even need to talk. I get memed on for saying that Delta is insane at the game. Like, look at this gameplay, bro. He is insane.
What a way to start the day. That's all I gotta say. My man had breakfast. My man had breakfast. He's looking good, man. He's juiced up, woken up. Akane, though, gonna have to go ahead and shrug that one off. I mean, that was... You got clipped on in the first game. Nobody wants to get clipped on in the first game, but with that
first
said...
stock, nonetheless.
It's all right. It's all right. That's what you have to tell yourself anyway.
I mean, put yourself in the shoes of Akane. This is a really, really tough situation. You've never been this deep into the bracket, right? He got 17th in autumn, which is close, but not really comparable to 9th. You're going up against Delta, PR9. You already know that this is going to be a tough set. First game, first stock, and Delta pulls that off. I mean, you have an upwards battle. You're fighting not only one of the best players, but you're fighting your own mental at this point. But it looks like Akane is keeping composure exceptionally well, because he's actually still delivering a very high quality gameplay here.
Yeah, and I mean, you gotta ask, right? Like, how often do you get to go up against someone that is very seasoned with Hammer, right? I feel like EU for a while had a whole lot of bow bars, and they were all fine, but they were always more sword players with the side of Hammer. They were never strictly like Hammer players, whereas Delta plays the axe and plays the Hammer, both with amazing proficiency, and despite that, just to get ground pounded by Akane. So we do have a final stock game here, but hopefully Akane can show up a little bit harder. They're definitely the underdog in this set, and for good reason. I mean, Delta is seasoned veteran.
Yeah, I definitely think, you know, EU has had that hammer era, but nowhere near like at the same skill. I think NA is so much better at hammer, and then Delta came around, and I guess he's just a new goat of hammer, especially at least in EU.
No, I have to agree with you there. I mean, I think Java held the mantle for a while and then kind of swapped off of Godvar after some changes happened, and so we don't really get to see it that much today. But now we have Delta showing us exactly why the weapon is still perfectly good, closing out that first game with that neutral air, KOing off the top and looking so convincing on that Roman Reigns. But I do want to give a shout out to Akane, because that was not a bad first game at all. You got Delta down to the final stock and got a good amount of damage with it as well. That was not a one-sided game by any means.
Swapping over to the Petra now, which actually, I mean, this it could seem a little bit misleading, right? You always think Teros, a lot of damage output. Delta is running Dex stance, which actually means that now Akane has one more strength stat than Delta.
Okay, and Petra, if we're talking about legends in the game, if there's someone who can punch you and have it hurt, Petra is one of the biggest offenders, and that's after she's been nerfed in the... Oh my, is Delta doing it again? Jeez, I was gonna say.
This is such an explosive beginning. We're like 17 seconds into the game, and we're so close to finding knockouts already. Ground Pound coming out, weapon throw won't be enough, but a GCD like Ground Pound will do the job. Akane had such an amazing start, but Delta able to sweep in and throw out his attacks, just make magic happen.
Okay. Oh, swing after swing after swing. Akane gets caught by the recovery, and now we have a swap positioning. Delta can go for an edge guard here, manages to get yet another hammer recovery. Akane getting stuck, gets caught on the dodge as well. That's 3 hits there. Oh, geez, this is going to be tough. I mean, that Ensig, the Shoryuken, will be enough, but not after taking so much damage.
Yeah, already all the way down in orange here. Delta on the hammer as well. I mean, hammer, you're not going to have too much of an issue finding that knockout. Quick GCD light Sair is going to do the job. And Delta, weapon starving Akane here. He is actually going to be left unarmed, but I have a funny feeling that he might not be too uncomfortable with that. Gets that hammer, and the juggling is insane.
You can already tell, like, the defensive options from Delta are so strange. Akane starting to catch on a little bit, manages to scare Delta away from the wall, and Delta not getting the touch ends up losing the stock. Akane, once again, bringing it down to a final stock scenario, but can you get the dub? Delta has looked so much more convincing when it comes to securing the knockouts, and what a dodge from Akane.
Akane doing really, really well here, actually, in the second game. Both players on the last stock. He just needs to find this knockout, but Delta has seemed a lot more proficient in doing so in these last couple of games, last couple of stocks. Akane still on the gauntlets. Delta is able to pick up the weapon throw, but no follow-up afterwards.
Ooh,
Gets that D-Sig, it's not going to be connecting. Akane, great string, but it's not enough. It's so close. Needs one more good hit.
Okay, throwing the orb. Now we have the gauntlets back in hand. We can go for that N-Sig again, and there it is! Akane read my mind.
1-1 on the board. Akane is here to play, evening out the set, and Delta is going to have to work a little bit harder.
Hey, we got ourselves a good set here. Akane clearly looking to break into the upper echelon of Brawlhalla, moving so well, so convincingly, so powerfully and masterfully with this Petra up against one of the best players consistently in EU.
The only thing that I kind of worried of here, I don't really know, since as we mentioned, we don't really know exactly the playstyles, how they have evolved for the players over the offseason. The one thing that I'm thinking in my mind is like, what if Delta just starts playing like 25% more parry and then Akane has no chance of winning? But it looks like there's not much of a change.
I think Delta just trying to say, I'm just a better player my way through this one, and we'll see. I mean, Granda has been such a great job, and look at the reactions, man. He's able to get hits off of dodges that most Hammer players are not, and it's making the difference. I can tell Akane is definitely spooked by it, and that sidelight recovery is going to be guaranteed. We saw that gravity cancel from Delta completely whiff, and that made that conversion a true combo, all things considered, for Akane.
Yeah, Delta, he has that movement and that decision-making that looks incredibly flashy, but Akane, he's hitting these attacks that really, really matter. He's so efficient on it. So even though, I mean, we're hyping up Delta, I mean, Akane, he's playing extremely well right now. He finds himself in a really good lead. Going to be losing that stock there, but Delta is already down in orange. It looks like this Petra pick is working out exceptionally well, Flambo.
Yeah, no, Akane is clearly looking like an amazing player, weaving in and out of these hitboxes from Delta, but Delta is still not too scared to press a button, recognizes, hey, if you're a certain degree close to me, Hammer in the stacked zone just has the frame data to beat most weapons. If you want to go for N-Light or D-Light, you're probably going to stuff out whatever your opponent's going to do if they also decide to swing. So Delta, very, very cognizant of that, trying to play around it, but despite it, still trailing behind against Akane. Akane doing such a great job.
And I mean, at this point, I mean, 2 minutes into the game, damage is being applied so quickly onto both of these guys. Full stock behind is such a large deficit. Delta's gonna have to work hard to be able to pull this one back. He can barely take any hits here. He just needs to find this stock. Going super far up, that's super risky, but Akane isn't able to find any potent attacks off of it. Delta with the D-Sig, not going to be connecting. More and more damage being applied. He needs that knockout, and he's able to do so.
Hey, here we go. Delta putting things now in a spot where it's still winnable, but trailing behind as Akane is making it tough. That sidelight Nair is not going to connect. Had to go for D-Light there. It was a little bit too stacked for that one. But Delta's getting the swings in, and this is Taros. You can't be getting stray swings from Taros.
Lots of sidelights coming out from Akane, but they're not really leading into anything. The damage is being built up nonetheless. Could start going for N-Lights at this time.
Dropped!
Going for that Sarah, but to drop, it doesn't even matter. He's able to pick up that ground pound on the recovery on his way out of there. Turns around, throws out that ground pound, and that is going to be Delta going down.
Wow, and honestly, I have to give a whole lot of credit to Akane there because the reaction time was phenomenal. A lot of the times when, like, you know, there's like a weird interaction and something drops, you will see people kind of get flashbanged, right? They'll like stagger for a moment because it's not what they expected to happen. But Akane was able to recognize the situation and adapt accordingly without wasting any time.
But we're loading straight into the next game, man. These guys, they're not waiting around whatsoever. 2-1 on the scoreboard to Akane. I was hyping up Delta. I'm saying Delta is one of the best players in the region, and I still stand by that, but it looks like Akane is challenging that spot right now.
Okay, Delta, what is your answer here? Because Akane has been making it tough. Granted, this time around, slight damage lead for Delta, but we'll see how long you can hold on to that. Akane trying to get these kind of parry shots in whenever Delta whiffs. Ooh, didn't get a touch. It's going to fall here. And that's going to be it. Yeah, beautiful from Akane to manage to get that side air before Delta got to land on the base platform. Didn't even have to get an edge guard, was able to push him far enough away with it. Sheesh.
D-Sig is going to be able to pick up the knockout as we are going into an even stock situation. Delta has the weapon advantage though. He's going to have to try and exploit that vulnerability, but it's not able to. Still able to find what is that? Oh my god, Delta! What is going on? Dare into the dash jump, dare into the what?
Oh no, you were feeling yourself a little bit too hard. We're gonna run away to the other side though. That's the way to do it. Disengage so you don't get turned around by gauntlets. Delta knew exactly what could have happened to him if he decided to stay on the same side of the stage.
Dash jumps here. Going to be following, covering himself up with an end light there. Dealing massive amounts of damage right now. The Seer knocks him so far away as he swaps over to the hammer. He's so close to finding the knockout. The weapon throw, that's going to be enough. He only had that dodge like 10 frames earlier, but unfortunately he won't. And that is going to be 2 stocks against 1 now as Delta fights for a game 5.
Let's see, Akane trying to answer back here, trying to stop that dream, but has 2 stocks to burn through and is looking really strong on this orb here. Goes for the ground pound, but Delta gets far enough into the stage. It doesn't matter. Akane still keeping this pressure up. Gonna go ahead and go for a weapon toss, keep this orb here. And what's gonna be the play? Do we go for maybe an end sig, maybe a side sig? We have some options here, but Delta's just swinging back unarmed. And Delta, all right, refresh the orb. He's a side light say or something. You have to hit him. You can't just keep waiting. You have to hit him. You're behind. And Delta's recognizing it. He's saying, you're playing too passive. I'm just going to KO you here. Doesn't get that D-light, but if he did, that ground pound would have secured the game.
Able to pick up that end light though. Getting a quick vengeance knockout. But he is so damaged. As you mentioned, playing a little bit too passive in that stock. Not really fighting back as Delta was just able to find more and more attacks onto him. The damage is showing. Delta tries to go for the recovery. It's not enough. But what is that option? The ground pound almost knocking out Delta. He follows it up with the dare. I was looking for the GCD light, but Delta wants to be a little bit more careful. I mean, you don't need to go for something that crazy. You can just go for the stomps there, and that is game. We're going to game 5, Flambo.
Okay, Akane trying to keep it close. Did a good job of at least bringing it down to the last stock and racking up a good amount of damage on Delta. But the scary thing is that so much of Akane's game plan is being really close to Delta, right? You have to. You're playing gauntlets. You have to be in the kind of like the stacked-ish zone of your opponent a lot of the time. And so when it gets to those scenarios where you're trying to make a comeback against a player like Delta, if you guess wrong one time, you're going to get hit by a stomp. You're going to get hit by something that's going to lead to a KO that you won't be able to tank. And that's how we saw that last game end. But maybe this time around we'll see something different, but Akane kind of getting beat out unarmed right now. There we go, a couple of swings back in retaliation, but Delta is always able to return it back twofold.
I haven't been able to see Akane play in too many sets to be able to confidently say Gauntlet is an incredibly strong offstage weapon, right? So if Akane prefers that kind of gameplay, Delta is not a great matchup for him because as we're seeing quite beautifully, Delta's offstage is insane. Akane is not able to get any work done there. It doesn't matter if Delta is on the hammer. Hammer has that recovery. It doesn't matter if Delta is on the unarmed. He's able to pick those up anyway.
And I'm really looking here to see what Akane can do. Keeps getting caught by these neutral airs, keeps getting caught by these stomps, whether they're gravity canceled or not. And that's a beautiful turnaround. Okay, you gotta... He saw one opportunity and he blitzed it, right? So we gotta sack that quarterback right now to have a chance here. And those are the kind of plays you need to make, but still, despite that, still behind by quite a bit. And look at these gravity cancels unarmed from Delta. He's so confident.
No hesitation whatsoever coming out from either of these players. They play so explosively. They see one opportunity and they just commit to it 1000%. Akane, no options. Delta didn't even need to go for that full-on offstage play. The D signature was enough to take Akane stock. Going to be sticking to the axe here. Finds that side light near. Oh, more attacks and Akane. I mean, I don't know what it is. Delta finds like one side light there, and then his opponent is just not allowed to play the game.
Oh my gosh, I hit. Yeah, Akane at this point getting pieced up. There's not much else to say here. Delta can just fish for stomps and kind of forcibly throw him out, because if he gets one, that's kind of all he needs. And you can see him going for it. Stomp here, it missed. Stomp there, missed. There's a stomp. Oh, missed my conversion, whatever. I'm going to go for it again. It's real simple here. He knows what his win condition is. He has a whole stock to play with. There's no reason not to play sillily. And this weapon throw should close it out. Delta is going to win the set 3-2.
And that is going to be the end indeed. Delta closing out in 3-1 action. 530 damage going up against 215. Delta showed up, man. I mean, Akane, we said it time and time again, super good performance coming out from him. He took